Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, July 13th, 2021, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom. So first of all, our regularly scheduled G-List guest for today would have been David Housel, Athletic Director Emeritus at Auburn University, to talk about his new book, From the Back Boot at Chaffee's. But David ran into a conflict, and so we had to reschedule him, and hopefully he'll be with us sometime in August. But we have something that we feel is good and a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy it. Hopefully, all of us have moments in our lives where we can point to and say that that incident or that moment or that started on a certain path to success, or that was my big break, or my first time doing so and so and so and so. Today's show is a look back into my own past in television with some of the people who know what I did then probably know better than I do what I did then. In the fall of 1989, I did my first episode of In the Heat of the Night as the city councilman, Melvin Lemon. I didn't really like that name, but that's the name they gave him. Actually, it was a 2-hour movie, and I can't remember the name of it, but I was just reminded that it was called Don't Look Back. And I do remember I had a trailer right next to the famous fashion model, Iman. I thought that was pretty cool. I said, man, I have arrived. Over the next 4 seasons, I appeared in nearly 30 episodes of the show. You always know that you have to be good to get onto a show, but it doesn't hurt to be lucky. After that first year, when I was supposed to be a recurring character as Melvin Lemon, I did not recur. And I kept asking my agent. I thought they were bringing me back. So the next season, they put out another call for the city councilman. This time, his name was Ted Marcus. So my agent says they put out a call for the city councilman. I said, yeah, but I did that job last year. He says, well, you ought to go get your job. So I go to Covington. I go in the trailer. Carol is sitting there, and I think it was Ed Letty. And Carol looks up at me, and he points at me, and he says, well, you played the city councilman last year, didn't you? And I said, yeah. So why are you trying to give my job to somebody else? I don't know how I got the courage to say that to him. But he looked at me, and he said, well, I won't give your job to somebody else. It's your job. And from there, I was Ted Marcus for the next 5 seasons. Today, we have some wonderful people who know far more about Ted Marcus than I do. I've had the pleasure of meeting them a few years ago at an In the Heat of the Night reunion. They know the show as well as anybody. They make me smile. They make me laugh. Some of them know all of Ted's dialogue. Hint, hint, Antley. And they call me Ted, my name from the show. They don't call me Thom. They call me Ted, but I like it. I tell you, when you think about, we talk about the G-List, and we say the G-List because everybody is a star. Well, when you think about the business of entertainment, to me, the fans are the stars because you're not on if you don't get those numbers to keep that show running. So anyway, I look forward to having them. I think you, the audience, will enjoy them as well. So our G-List guest today from the In the Heat of the Night fan club is sponsored by Mainstream Financial Group. Now, Mainstream Financial helps to bring financial vision and clarity to your retirement plans. Tuesday with Thom, of course, is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Who and what is Best Girl? Well, we'll let Ted tell you.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Creates the solution that fits your needs. So let's go to our roundtable regulars and introduce Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Barbara Wallace Edwards is with us today from Birmingham, Alabama. Barbara, how are you doing today?
Good morning, Tom. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. I'm full of smiles. My friends here from In the Heat of the Night make me smile.
I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a great show.
What's going on in your world?
Not much, Tom. I've been laying low for the last couple of days. I had a little minor surgery on the end of last week. Nothing major. Hence the Band-Aid here on my face. So
I couldn't see it. So.
Yeah, it's healing up rather nicely. So thank God. It's nothing major. Yeah, so I'm doing well.
So we're going to talk a little television today. So I'll just quickly ask you a question. Did you have a favorite television show at some point in your life?
The Cosby Show was definitely one of my favorite shows in the early years. You know, I've had so many. They changed throughout the year. So, Heat of the Night was one that I tend to watch a little bit. I've never watched the whole series, and nothing like the people we have on the show today. I don't know half of the details. I'm one of those who watch the TV show, and then 30 minutes later, I can't answer any questions about it at all. But I love TV. So, yeah, my favorites have changed throughout the years.
Well, let's get Michael Walker on here and see what he's got to say about the situation.
Okay.
Good morning, Michael Walker.
Well, good morning, Ted. How are you this morning? Good morning, Barbara.
I kind of figured you wouldn't let that go by. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much.
Good. What's happening in your world?
Well, I have to tell you, as you all know, that I try and bring you information regarding health, finance, and your pocketbook. President Biden on Friday evening, he signed and issued an executive order that is going to ask the Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice to revamp their mergers and acquisition and consolidations for healthcare. The reason being is because of consolidations in hospitals. It has kind of created a monopoly and driven up the costs and the prices of healthcare, along with closing a lot of rural hospitals. The 4 areas that they're going to concentrate on: prescription drugs, hospital consolidation, health insurance consolidation, and hearing aids. Just to give you an example, there's a scheme called Pay for Delay. And what that involves are large drug manufacturers paying smaller generic drug manufacturers to stay out of the market. So that's sometimes when you get some prescription drugs and you say, well, what is the generic? Well, we don't have a generic. That's the reason why you don't have a generic. Okay. So with that, they are going to look at how they allow these hospital systems to merge. One other bit of news, and I'm sure you all have heard this, but it's becoming more significant. The Delta variant is spreading faster than CDC thought it would be. And right now, according to Dr. Fauci, the Delta variant is responsible for 20% of US COVID cases now, and it's attacking the areas of the United States that have no vaccinations or little to no vaccinations. And one other thing about it is that it requires higher use of ventilators.
Isn't there also another new variant out called the Lambda variant? Did I read that somewhere?
Yes, that's another variant out, but right now the Delta variant is the one that started in India and the one spreading very fast. Like right now, it's spreading very quickly because it has a high transmission rate.
Right,
it's much easier to get it.
With the Delta variant, you can be infected. Still, I don't know what the terminology. Be infected with the COVID despite having been vaccinated against COVID-19. That's right.
Yes.
Yes, there is a possibility, because maybe you noticed Chris Paul during the NBA playoffs, he had to take 14 days off because of COVID positive tests, and he had his vaccination.
Well, I have a guy here that just told me yesterday that one of his customers, same thing,
Mhm.
been fully vaccinated and came down with it as well. So,
Yes,
back to the mask,
absolutely.
and be happy to do it.
Yes.
So, we fight over everything now. Politics is, you gonna wear this
Crazy.
mask or not wear this mask. That says something about you.
Yes.
You gonna do this, you gonna do that. That says something about you. So that's why today we're gonna talk about television. So, Michael, were you in the Heat of the Night fan?
Well, Tom, yes, I was. And it was only because of this guy I knew when I was at Auburn. His name was Ted.
Ted
Thom.
Marcus.
Yes.
No,
It was because of him. It was because of him that I watched In the Heat of the Night, because I knew him and what have you. So, yes, I was a fan of it.
Did either one of you guys watch the original movie?
I did not see the original movie.
I watched
Steiger
it. I don't
and
remember
Sidney
very
Poitier.
many. Yeah, I watched the original movie when it came out, and I don't remember very many of the details, though.
Yeah,
I need to go back and watch it again.
I've seen it a couple times since then. It was really good. It was groundbreaking at that time. I
Yes.
think it was 67, something like that.
Yeah,
And,
67.
this black detective from Philadelphia made $162.50 a week.
Yeah.
He made that. Came down, and a man was murdered, and first they grabbed him, and then he ended up helping them solve the crime.
Yes.
It was shocking to me. It was kind of shocking when they made a series about it, because I just didn't know if it could hold up over several seasons, but
Right.
it did. I mean, if you think about it now, I think we started shooting in 88, 89. It's still on today. It comes on 4 times a day on WGN, right?
Wow.
Behind 10 o'clock to 1 or 2 o'clock. It's on. It's got a block there, and then there's another channel that it's on. And as I may have told you guys, in the mornings I'll click on to see what the titles are, because I know the titles are the ones I was in. and then it's like, it's interesting, because then it's like I'll see, oh, okay, so I'm on 2 times today. But then I don't watch it. It's just the satisfaction of knowing that I was on,
So do you have those episodes recorded, Tom?
Oh, no. I think
That's something you should do.
Back then, they used to give us, on all the shows, if you did a guest star appearance, they would give you a copy of it.
Right.
And so I probably do have some on VHS. I'm sure I do.
Okay.
One of the things I've always done from when I first started was to, when I get my final script, I always sign it, and I got a box full of scripts back there.
Okay.
So I don't know what I'll do with them one day. Nobody's going to want them, so we'll see. But
I think that's great. For your future generations, they would, I think that's something they would cherish. Maybe those VHS tapes, or maybe get those transposed to DVD or something. I don't know, but
people always say that. I'm gonna leave this to my children.
Right.
Children say, "What the hell am I supposed to do with this?"
They don't care.
You never know. There may be one that may be really interested in history, would want to keep that information. So it's always safe to have it.
What I will say is, In the Heat of the Night, in my opinion, was the beginning of Atlanta becoming a TV and film mecca.
Yes.
When the Heat went away around 94, 95, I did Miss Evers' Boys. I think it was in 96, right? 96, 97. But that was it as far as a lot of stuff coming to Atlanta. I think they did away with the incentive thing for a while. Mm-hmm. And as much as people love Atlanta and love New Orleans, so on and so forth, it's the incentives that draw them there in terms of the business part of it.
Right.
And it dried up for a while, but of course now it's, it is the mecca
Yes.
of TV and film.
It's the Hollywood of the South, I hear.
And Tyler Perry going there had a lot to do with that.
Yes.
But I always say In the Heat of the Night had a hell of a lot to do with it. So,
Right.
Anything else from you, Barbara?
No, that's all from me.
Michael?
No, I do not think so. Just looking forward to the rest of the show. I would like to ask you, what was your favorite episode? Do you have a favorite episode of In the Heat of the Night?
Yeah, it probably, and I have to ask our guest the name of it. I think it's called The Long Trial. When and we'll ask the group about it. But when Carol, Chief Gillespie, and Virgil were on trial for something, and then there was one called Sanctuary that this guy from South America the priest was giving him sanctuary in the church, and they were trying to get him out. So I was the lawyer / city councilman, and so they always call Ted over here. Here comes Ted.
Ted knows the answer.
We'll let them tell us about it. So, all righty. Anything else from anybody? We're going to move on to the G List then. The G List, where everybody is a star, is sponsored by Mainstream Financial Group. Mainstream Financial Group provides financial services for both individuals and businesses. Now, their mission is to understand the unique needs of each and every client and work closely with you, assembling a planning team to develop and manage your plan to help you accomplish your defined financial goals. Mainstream has financial professionals. They will provide you with a complimentary, no obligation financial review. These professionals can then offer you the custom advice you need to mend together the pieces of your financial life and come up with a plan that's truly comprehensive. Mainstream Financial assists retirees and near retirees in planning for a secure retirement so not to run out of money during your lifetime. So you can take advantage of opportunities with tailored advice and then to have the resources to act on that advice. Mainstream Financial Group, financial vision and clarity. Makes sense to me. It's www.mainstreamfg.com, 205-324-0589. And now our G List guests, plural, for today. Remember, Hollywood has the A List, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G List where everybody is a star. So we have 4 guests today from the In the Heat of the Night fan club. They are absolutely wonderful. I am so proud to have them on the show. And so I will just start with Laurie Lowman. Laurie works for a law firm in Kokomo, Indiana. She's been a fan of the show for many years. She says that she actually lived near some of the filming locations. She first went to Covington in 2013, got a map to find the local sites on her own. She hosted a heat trolley. Jenny Hilton hosted a heat trolley tour, and she says it was like stepping back into time in the Sparta, Mississippi. I love her quote. She says, she met many of these people for the first time. She organized and coordinated location site tours and gatherings of fan and cast members. These events formed bonds and friendships that go above and beyond what we could have ever expected, all because of a show filmed in the late 80s, early 90s that brings us all together in a small town in Georgia, our fictional Sparta. That's Laurie Lowman. It's going to be on with us today. I guess we're not going to bring them on till all at once, okay? Antley Staten. Antley puts in his bio that he is 46 and single. Are you advertising, Antley? He's from Columbia, South Carolina. He is a state employee from the South Carolina Employment Office, and his favorite city is Covington, Georgia. His favorite TV show is In the Heat of the Night. Vernell Razor is from Harlem, New York. She is a retired Navy veteran. She attended the Heat of the Night reunion in 2015. Her entire family was asking her why was she going somewhere where she didn't know anybody. Her daughter told her because she loves In the Heat of the Night. She says she's met over 600 new friends. They're just as passionate as she was. She says the Heat represents love, diversity, and history. I absolutely love it. And finally, Anthony Tedeschi is Anthony is a huge fan of Heat. He started a fan page on Facebook called In the Heat of the Night Fan Club, and they have over 5,000 members. So that's for today. All right. Hey, how we doing?
Hey, how you doing, Ted?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. How you guys? So you never heard my Melvin Lemon story, huh?
First time.
Yeah, this is the first time.
I heard it when you came to Covington to one of our gatherings, but I didn't know the name was different. The Melvin Lemon versus Ted Marcus. I've only known you as Ted, so.
Yeah, I like Ted better.
I do too. You look more like a Ted than a Melvin.
Okay, so tell me about how you started with the Heat and where you are now. Whichever one of you want to start.
Ladies first.
I lived in. Go ahead.
I started with the Heat, like I said, in 2015. I went on Facebook, and I've been a Heat fan since I was 11 years old, and I've seen the original one probably 15 times. So in 1988, when the series came out, I was older, and I was like, wow, this is going to be good. So I went to the reunion, didn't know not one person, but as I was checking into the hotel, people were like, you here for the Heat reunion? And so we really connected and gravitated, and it wasn't anything that we couldn't do. We had lunch. All we talked about was In the Heat of the Night, the different shows, what we liked best. And throughout this time, I've met like a ton of people that are really, really genuinely nice, and they really are passionate about the show. They really are. Now, I will say, Ted, the line verbatim, I'm not there like Antley and Laurie, but I do have my favorite line, which actually is one of the quotes that goes down in history up in DC, which was, in the original In the Heat of the Night, they called me Mr. Tibbs.
Yes.
It's the toning and the sound of that. You know, Sidney Poitier delivering that line it gives you chills. So I've loved the show ever since, met some absolutely wonderful people, and I love that fact that we have a common interest.
You know that the movie had a tension to it.
It did.
That ran through almost the whole film.
Like you said, it was really a roadmap that we didn't know that would be set the pace for things to come. And it was reflected in the show in all 8 seasons, the different stories.
And Carol took it further. He took it further, you know. I remember him saying, well, we can't have a show every week where the chief and the detective are at each other's throats.
Exactly.
He said, that's not going to work. That's not going to work in the long run. And so I love your quote where you say the Heat represents love, diversity, and history. I think
it was before our time. We didn't know, you know, I'm from Harlem up north, so the exposure for me may have not been the same as it was for Southerners, you know. So that show, it was really before its time, showing the different things that occurred and how you respond to it. And like I said, I really learned a lot. I mean, my whole family watched it, my kids watched it, and it was really eye-opening.
Okay.
Indeed.
Laurie?
I actually lived in the Gwinnett County, the Snellville area, which is not too far from Covington, maybe less than an hour, over by Stone Mountain, while they were filming. And I knew that they were filming there, but I was raising 3 babies and riding Marta to work, and I couldn't watch it at 10 o'clock and get up the next morning and get 3 babies ready. So I didn't really watch Heat when it was actually aired, but when I moved back to Indiana and I found it on WGN, I fell in love with it. I think it just reminded me of how much I love the South. And once you've lived north of the Mason-Dixon and you move south, it's hard to move back because people up here aren't as friendly, as welcoming as people in the South. And so I just fell in love with the show and everything about it. And like I said, when I went in 2013, my daughter was living in Atlanta, and we went there because it was a rainy day in Georgia. So what do? You take a road trip. So we drove over to in the heat of the night. It was 4th of July, and everything was closed for the weekend. So we got a map and just kind of went around the town with that map from the Welcome Center. But then in 2000, I guess it was 2014, when Jenny Hilton McDonald hosted a heat trolley tour, and 5 of us showed up. And they showed us just the main things around town. But then when she hosted, oh my gosh, the 2015 homecoming was amazing. I got to work beside Alan Autry and Dee all day. They were great people. We still go back and see Dee. Whenever we go, she always comes to see us and has dinner or lunch or whatever's going on. I mean, it's just like family, and it's just surreal to have met all these, all the different cast members. And I still hear from Alan now, and was helping distribute his latest film, Victory by Submission, that's now streaming online. And but after that, then the Vampire Diaries was being filmed in Covington, so the city kind of redirected funds, and so I knew, being good friends with Jenny, that Covington would not be bringing another Heat reunion there for quite some time, or who knew when. So I kind of took it on a smaller scale and invited cast members that I knew or had made contact with. And it was in 2016 we got to meet Ron McComb for the first time. He just left a lasting impression on all of us. And then, having been friends with you on Facebook, Ted, we invited you, and I think you sold all the books you brought. And I've read them all, and you were very gracious and so kind to all of us. And when I read Walk On, it was just, if y'all haven't read Walk On, get it, read it. It's incredible, incredible story of Ted's life and life at Auburn, and how he got there, and now he needs to do like Life After Heat or something. You need a new book. But anyway, it's the family. Sometimes we watch the show mostly to, oh, where's that site? Oh, that's by the school. Oh, that's behind the courthouse. We try to figure out. We go down there sometimes scouting out sites where what we've seen on TV. But most importantly is the friendships and the family bonds that we formed. Like I said, it goes above and beyond what we could have ever expected. The cast members and the fans, we're all just one big family, and it's just amazing. When we come to Covington, it's like we didn't miss a beat. We couldn't go last year because of COVID, but we came back this year stronger than ever. So here we are. And then we brought us together on this show. So it's just amazing. Thank you, Ted.
Oh, for sure. Let's get Antley on here now. Antley, you list in your bio that you're single. Are you advertising?
Well,
He's always
for that,
advertising.
Ted. Sounds like a good lawyer, but no, I just threw that in there. But hey, if anybody interested, I wasn't in the show, but I can tell about it. So I'll throw that out there.
You and I met that night. We met that night in Covington, and you started calling me Ted, and you never stopped. And so it's like, okay,
That's what I know
I'm
you by.
Ted.
I don't know anything else to call you.
How you doing, man? So you go to Covington, and I always think it's interesting because the library was the police headquarters was the library. They put a police headquarters sign over it. And you go back and you see all the different places. So, so tell me what drew you to it.
I actually have a cousin, hey Nisi, that lives in Covington, Georgia. And I had just turned 40 years old, and she invited me to her house. And so I was watching The Heat of the Night on the television. And she was like, that show was filmed in this town. And I'm like, no, that show was filmed in Sparta, Mississippi. She said, no, it was filmed here. And she betted me $10. And she drove me to the square, and she put me in front of the town, in front of Nathan. That's the statue. And right when I heard the bell ringing, and I saw your office, and I knew exactly where I was, and I ran to the police station. And that's when I found out she was telling the truth. And she looked online, and that's when she found out they was having a reunion tour. And that's when I met Laurie, Vernell, and I go down there every year. It's like my second home. I mean, love the show, and
you just went this year on the 4th of July, didn't you?
Yes, I was. We were down there for the 4th of July and in March. So it's just having my friends here that meet me down there every year. It's just, and all we do is talk about the show. That's all we do.
So you obviously have to watch a lot of it to know, because you know dialogue.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, WG in America. Then on Thursday and Fridays, Ovation.
Yep.
Is it 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock? Oh, 5 and 6 o'clock.
5 and 6.
And I record it too. So
it's also on Me
and I'm
TV.
working, I go back and watch
it. That as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Me TV.
Let me get Michael and Barbara on. They got a couple questions for you guys.
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
They keep saying, uh-oh.
What's the uh-oh? What is that?
I want to know too.
Hey, y'all.
Uh-oh about. Hello.
I'm about to find out.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Whatever you go with it.
I want to know who started the fan club. How did it all get started? Was it you, Laurie?
I didn't start the fan club. Actually, Jenny Hilton McDonald, who lives in Covington, she started the tour in 2014, and then she had a huge homecoming in 2015 that brought many cast members in town. And then I kind of picked it up on a smaller scale in 2016, and that's when we met Thom, and that's when we met in 2015, but in 2016 is when the bond started forming, and we'd always come back to our fictional Sparta, and we love to eat and love to look at old filming sites, and literally it's like stepping back into Sparta. We can go and say, well, there's the police station, that's Magnolia Grill, and we'll see, we can remember Ted and the Dragon Lady and the chief sitting under the eyes of the general and in the square. And anyway, it's just
First Girl was the name of that one.
Yes.
Is that First Girl?
Where's the Dragon Lady?
I remember that.
There she's coming right now.
Wow.
Dragon Lady's boss.
So actually, Jenny kind of started it all, and then I kind of picked up a little bit afterwards. Now we just go down. It's so much easier just to go down and relax and have a good time. But the tours and gathering, I think, is where we really created our bonds, because it was the same people that came back for tour after tour, because we just wanted to be together, and it was a reason to go to Covington and be together. So it's just the love, the love of the town, the love of the show, the love of each other, that, and the love of God, that this is still 30 plus years later after filming, that that the show is still affecting lives. So
Yes.
it's very incredible, very incredible.
That's great. That's great. So 5,000 members, and how many normally come back for the reunion each year?
We don't always publicize that. I mean, sometimes we do. Anthony's really the one that heads up the group, the fan club on Facebook. But when he came down for the first time in March, we could live through his excitement, because we remember the first time we came and saw everything, and it was just amazing. And literally, it was like a kid at Christmas, or a kid at the candy store or whatever, because he was just excited. And you just have to watch him, though, because you can't do anything crazy, because he's got his camera going all the time, and he will catch you doing something that you don't want to be caught on tape doing. But then we brought Lucy in. Lucy came and joined us 4th of July, her and her husband Wayne, and it's like, we just add people as they're available to come in. Sometimes it's smaller it's nicer with a smaller group, because it's a little more intimate. We can share some more one-on-one time. So anyway,
that's great.
Okay, Michael.
Yes, good morning. I want to ask you guys, I know that the show itself is your common denominator between the three of you. However, you are all from diverse backgrounds. Lauren, you work with a law office. Antley, you work with the employment office. And Vernell, you're a retired Navy veteran. What was it about the show that individually drew each of you to the show? What resonated with you the most?
That when we talked about the shows and even some episodes, we were extremely passionate about the show. That was the common denominator for me, because like you indicated, we come from very diverse backgrounds, different areas. But when we came together, it was like we came from the same place. We were all in sync. There was a certain synergy there. And that's really because we really, truly, I can say this unequivocally, have a diverse group of 5,000 plus members, but the heat connects us, because we show that kind of love and passion for the show.
I did not start watching the show until after I graduated high school. And my father is an ex-police officer, so I kind of knew some of the lingo and everything like that, and I just watched it religiously. And then now here I am 10 years later, able to go to the actual show and meet some people on TV, Ted Marcus, Dee Shepherd, Bubba, it's like, I'm like, that's my Christmas. I'm really seeing people from my favorite shows. And I'm meeting great friends like Laurie, Vernell, Anthony, Jason Thompson, just some of the cast, some of the members of the fan page that when we met down there, we just formed a family. So, my mother would say, when I met these people right here, they filled the void in my life, because, all I did was sit and watch TV. But now able to have friends that we really have something in common. They have became my family, just like now Ted is my family now. So, it just, I ain't gonna start crying, but yeah, that's how.
Because he will start.
I did. It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
Vernell, we said we were going to mention me crying,
he will
so we're not
start
going to do
crying.
Lauren, you want to answer the question?
I think that my connection to the show was, like I said, having lived near there when it was filmed. Also, when I watched the episodes, there's a lot of real life events that was going on in America during the time the show was filmed, like Waco, and then we had the episode with the Celestial Church. I mean, there's a lot of similarities, and I think that I remember listening to an interview that Carol did some time ago, obviously, and he said that he told the writers, "Why are you making up stories when we have life events going on? We can have episodes similar to what the life events are." So there was the one, the teacher. I mean, just so many teachers and students, and I mean, it was just like real life events. When you watch it, it's like you could relate to every episode of what was going on. And, there's times that I still cry when Virgil cries in the chief's little room when he went missing. And I still cry when, or at least I get a lump in my throat when the grand lady dies on Lonnie's shoulder. I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times, but it still stirs up emotions, and it still, and I think, oh, I was just there Saturday, or whatever, and it's like, hey, like, can you believe we were standing there, and there it is on TV, but but now it's about the family that we've created because of the show, and we can look at the show and see these location sites that we have memories for. When we went to the Trestle, and there's pictures of Antley and Vernell and I and Jason Thompson and Anthony. We were all trying to figure out where Virgil was standing and where Bubba was standing and where the shack was, Uncle Bart's cabin, and was it really there or was it a prop? I mean, we just really dive into it and pick it apart and try to figure out everything 30 years later. But it's fun, and we have a passion.
You guys are good at that. I mean, you guys notice things that other people don't notice that go on in the show.
I think we missed our calling.
Somebody said that the flower sitting on the table is the same in every episode. I don't know where.
I didn't notice that. Now I gotta go back and watch that again. Now I didn't notice that. Give me homework, Ted. That's impossible.
And we talked about when Howard was one of my favorites. Howard was great.
Yeah.
Howard called me Thom on the show instead of Ted. And nobody caught it, and it made it actually into the final cut, aired on television. He handed me something at a picnic. He said, "Here you go, Thom." And I looked at him, and he just kept going, so I kept going.
If you want me to break it down, you was talking about paying higher taxes. You was having brunch. Yeah. Sorry. See, that's how deep I am.
That's it.
Talking about paying higher taxes, and he's talking about, look at the privilege talking. I think Carol said that. And then he passed you a place, say, "Here you go, Thom."
Yeah, that's it.
So when you guys go down, how are the people who live in the town? Are they okay with people coming, tourists coming because of the show?
I think so, because it's still a film-friendly town. They're still filming Sweet Magnolias. We got the filming of that when we were there. A week prior to that, they were filming the Waltons' Homecoming. So it's just a film-friendly town. But one thing I wanted to add, Thom, is I think it's amazing that Carol created a family atmosphere with the cast and crew, and that it's still carrying on today. So I think that's just, I know he's smiling down from heaven at the legacy he's left for all of us.
I was lucky. It was my first show. I'd done a couple of episodes of television or whatever, but man, to start out like that at the top. I mean, I started at the top. I mean, we were always in the top 10. So a couple of years we were like number 2.
Yes.
Carol would fly me to Los Angeles. One year we shot four the interiors from the first 4 episodes. We shot all 4 of them in Los Angeles, just the interiors. Wow. So that the crew didn't have to be away from home so long. Because a lot of people were married and had kids. And so they would come in August and they would be there till May. And so one year we didn't go out to California until October. And so he flew me to Los Angeles. That's how I got familiar with Santa Monica and all that. And he was just great. And I don't know if you guys knew, but Carol wrote many of the scripts under the name Matt Harris.
Yes.
And he would write them longhand. He'd be sitting there, we'd be working on one, and he'd be writing another. And I'd always tell him, I said, now you make sure you put Ted in there. He said, oh yeah, we got to look out for Ted.
And we're glad he did.
Yes, we are. Anybody else? Michael, Barbara, Anthony, Laurie. Go
I have
ahead.
another question for all of you. Tell me who your favorite character was from the show and why. And Anthony, we'll start with you.
Now, because Mr. Ted Barker got me in the
I think the same thing.
I was going to say Ted. But now, to leave Ted alone right now, I really can't name a favorite because I love all of them. But
Yes.
for the time, I'm going to say the ones I've met.
Okay.
I met Bubba. Real cool guy. I mean, nothing like I thought he was going to be. I met D. Shepard. I met Jimmy Dawes. Now, I can't think of his real. Laurie, how you pronounce his real name?
It's an
Afimo Amelami.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But Ted, you know him as Jimmy Dawes.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dawes.
Jimmy Dawes.
That's right.
Let's see. Ted never put him on trial, but that's another story.
Okay.
But so all of my favorite actors. So
Okay.
I'm gonna say the whole cast.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Barbara, I'm glad you asked us that because even at the reunion, you know, a lot of the fans had their favorite character. Most
Right.
women want like Bubba, but
Mhm.
Right.
I went there just loving the entire cast
Yes.
for
yes.
everything that they brought to the show. So I
That's
didn't
right.
have a favorite per se. I just loved everybody and I was so happy to meet everybody.
Right. That's great. And
I want to
Thom,
piggyback.
No, go ahead, Laurie. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I just want to piggyback onto what Vernell said because it's just like a puzzle, and everybody brought their own piece or brought their own quality or uniqueness and their particular character. It's like I couldn't imagine the show without any one of them because. And like she said, it's hard to have a favorite. Right now, I'm going to say Ted Marcus because he invited me on the show. But that's not true though. When we got together, I mean that's not why I said Ted. But when we all have gotten together and met each other, the cast is just as amazing. I mean, they're just like the fans. I mean, they're people, and they don't. Treat you as less than what they are. It's like we're just one big family, and it's just an extension of the show, like I said, of what Harold created, the atmosphere he created when they were filming to now, and it just keeps going, and that's why I have my grandkids even watching it now, because I want them to experience this love and this family atmosphere that's been created so many years ago. So I would say all of them. You just can't pick one because everyone's my favorite.
That's great.
Well, I'll tell you guys mine. Howard was really my favorite. Howard was because Howard was who I worked with first. And I could learn so much from Howard just by watching him. And I mean, Howard, one time we were in a scene where he only had to say one word, and that one word was absolutely. And he turned that one word into a performance, man. I mean, he was so smooth. He was so good. And he was always late. He was always late to the set. Yeah. And that's like a big no-no. And he would show up 30 minutes late. But Carol was so cool. Carol loved him like a son. Carol would go over. We'd be everybody's waiting. 100 people waiting on Howard. And he would show up and Carol would go over and hug him. And he'd say, now let's get to work. And everybody would go to work. And there was no mess going on, you know.
Right.
That's amazing.
I've been on some with that where it was ugly. And one of the fun, Cesare, do you guys remember the one Cesare was in? Cesare DeNova was in one of those scenes, but he got into it with the director. This is the only time I ever saw anybody get into it. The director was an Italian guy. I think Cesare was Italian, whatever, but they got into it. And Cesare got up close to his face and told him, he said, I don't want to have to go into violence with you. I never heard it put that way.
A bad idea.
So before we go, let me say Holly is on. Holly Carbine Bridges. She says hi to you guys. And
hey
Holly, we love you.
Patsy Moore Carter. Hope my friend Jose's always on here, and Paula is out in Arizona. So we thank you guys for being with us. So let's see, we got time for maybe one more question here. Anybody? Or if anybody's got a comment, go ahead, Mike.
I have a question. I want you all to put on your producer, director, and acting hats. And we have Into the Heat of the Night continues. What would you be and what role would you play in the heat of the night?
That's kind of messed up. I mean, you only limited me to like 3 people. Am I supposed to play Ted? Can I play Virgil? But I'm not doing Luann. So I could be Sweet. So my character is kind of limited. So, thank you for that.
I might like to, or aspire to be Dee. I would like to be Dee. And her famous line is, "Well, whatever did you have in mind, sir?" Dee, we love you. And I know you're watching or watch this replay, but I might try to be Dee, but she was a pretty BA cop.
One little known fact, at one point, I think we loved Covington so much, several of the Heat fans were going to try to buy a house there at one point.
Yes, we were. Yeah, we were. That's a true story.
So much. And fortunately, I was able to stay in Chief Gillespie's and Harriet's home that's owned by Sharon Lord.
Yes,
she owns
Sharon.
the home, and so she always welcomes me there. But we literally were going to try to buy a house. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, Vernell, what role would you play? You didn't answer
Harriet
the question.
DeLong. Harriet DeLong.
That's a good role.
It is a good role.
She was a nice lady.
Yes, she is.
She was.
A lady.
Now, Ted, can I ask one question, though?
Uh-huh.
Between you, Howard, and D.A. Darnell, y'all had the baddest suits, man.
Yes.
I don't know who was more dressed up, you, Howard, or D.A. Darnell, but y'all wore some bad suits, man.
I can't think of her name who used to dress us. I can't think of her name. But one time I was actually in Los Angeles and she took me down to where she bought the suits and stuff. This wholesale place. And man, she did. We were always dressed nicely and she was fun and she was British. And
that's cool.
Just a cool lady. I'd have to well, in today's time she probably wouldn't be able to do that, but she when she was dressing you, she'd love to kind of rub your butt a little more than she needed to. Until it got to the point where I said, well, go ahead, hurry up, because I got to go. Sheila was her name. Sheila, I can't think of her last name, but she was great. So, yeah, she did. She did a great job with us. Okay, who else? Anybody else? Well, all right. Any final comments from the Heat group?
Yes, it was wonderful seeing you on Queen and Slim as Slim's dad. I love when I see the actors outside of the heat of the night.
Thank you. I enjoyed that. We shot that in New Orleans.
Wow.
It was great.
That was a good movie.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Thank you for having us, man.
Thank you, Thom.
For having us.
All right. Okay. Okay. Let's do it again. Looking back, my closing commentary, or as I see it, I look back on In the Heat of the Night and just proud that I was able to be a part of it. But it was groundbreaking. in many ways, as Laurie referred to, particularly as it related to that time period. There was this scene in the original movie. There was this incredible scene with Virgil Tibbs, Sidney Poitier, and Chief Gillespie, Rod Steiger, and the man who played the rich man in town, Endicott was his name. I can't think of, I don't know his name as an actor, but he and Virgil got into it. And he slapped Sidney Poitier's character. And reaction, Sidney Poitier slapped him back. And that had never been seen on national television in the United States of America. That this black guy slaps this police chief. And it was just that kind of show. It was breaking all the rules. I think the thing about Carol that made the Heat of the Night television show so wonderful was that he broke all the rules, just like the film did. He married Sheriff Gillespie, Carol O'Connor's character, married a black woman on the show. And to me, that was to distance himself from Archie Bunker, that character he had played before then. There were, before people even mentioned or talked about diversity, there were many, many people of color and women working behind the camera and behind the scenes on that show in important positions, assistant directors, the camera, the DP. I mean, people were all over. It was my first show, and so I was very, very fortunate to be able to see things being done right, being done at a very high professional level. And I can look back now and say how proud I am to have been a part of it. And so I thank Carol O'Connor and all the people there who made it possible. And I thank all the Laurie and Anthony's and Vernells who continue to keep us alive, who continue to keep the heat, continue to keep the heat going. We thank you. God bless you. And that's how I see it for this Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. That's our show for today. I want to thank the audience. We appreciate you. I want to thank the In the Heat of the Night G-listers. Thank you so much for being with us. You guys are great. Thanks to everybody who sent in stuff in the chat. Our upcoming G-list guests are David Housel, who's the athletic director emeritus at Auburn University. Ainsley Carey, my good friend from British Columbia, who's the VP of Student Affairs at the University of British Columbia, will be with us. I think he'll be with us next week. Fry Gillard, I hope I pronounced that right, Mr. Fry, who's a write-in-residence at the University of South Alabama. I want to thank our sponsors, Best Girl Inc. and Mainstream Financial Group. You know somebody who you think would make a great guest for Tuesdays with Thom, please refer them to us at either Thom@bestgirl.com or Emily@bestgirl.com. I want to thank Emily Hedrick, the communicator, our producer, who had to jump through a few hoops for this show because we got notice of the cancellation on Friday and we had to make this work on Saturday. So thank you, Em. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for the Best Girl team for making this work out for us. Remember to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.